Hi everybody, it's Mena. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is the very first video that you're seeing of me, then welcome to my channel. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below if you didn't already. I post every day of the week for all. And today in this video, I'm going to talk about my top 10 worst side effects that I had going through chemo. So I apologize also if you guys hear some noise. I have my mom's guinea pig upstairs and I'm watching him right now. His name is Fluffy. You may have seen him in a couple videos. So I'm going to talk about the worst side effects I had going through chemo. And these are side effects you don't want to have, but sometimes they just happen when you least expect it. So if you're going to go through chemo, be aware of these side effects. Excuse me one second. Sorry, I forgot to close my closet door. So I'm going to talk about all the side effects that I had when I went through chemo that were really bad for me. These may, if you're going through chemo right now, these may not be as bad for you, but these were horrible for me. So I'm going to get started. So number one on my list would have to be nausea. So nausea was probably the worst thing I felt. I hated that feeling. I hated feeling nauseous, and it was so uncomfortable, and I just did not like the feeling of it. I'm sure we all hate when we're nauseous, but sometimes it happens when we least expect it, whether we get car sick easily, we eat food that makes us this way, or sometimes if we just go through something like chemotherapy. It happens, and it happens. Number two on my list should have to be vomiting. I know that's kind of disgusting, but it happens when you go through chemo, and that was probably the worst side effect for me because I hate throwing up. It's really, really uncomfortable, and it literally, like, sometimes would be uncontrollably for me, which I hated because it would happen through some of the medications that I had. Like one time it happened through my mouthwash when I accidentally swallowed it, long story. And another time it has happened just with some of my medications because the medications just made me completely sick. And if you want a separate video about which were the worst medications I had going through chemo, I will probably make another video about that, not talking about it. So just in case if anybody has any questions about that. Number three on my list would have to be migraines. So migraines were probably horrible for me. I hate getting migraines. I'm sure we all hate migraines, but I literally did not like having migraines because anytime I had a migraine, I would want to vomit to get rid of it. I know, it really gross. I'm so sorry, but this literally, like, I got so many migraines going through chemo. It was not funny at all. So uncomfortable. I hated it, and it was not my favorite thing. Half the time I'd literally be sleeping half the day, and I wouldn't even eat anything sometimes because the migraines just hurt so bad. Number four on my list had to be taste buds changing. So this was one of the worst side effects I've ever had going through chemo because, like, I really didn't like the fact that my taste buds changed going through chemo because I didn't like a lot of my favorite foods back then. Like my mom's scrambled eggs, she puts milk in them. My favorite fruit of all time, which is strawberries, and hamburgers. I didn't like those. Those are the only three foods I did not like going through chemo. And it was very hard for me when my taste buds changed because I missed enjoying some of my favorite foods. Number five on my list would have to be mouth sores. So mouth sores are sort of like canker sores, but except it doesn't have anything to do with sugar. They're like worse because they are in like blisters on the inside of your mouth. I got it with one of my medications, and it was either the cisplatin. No, it was the second dose of methotrexate because I had to go through 2 doses of methotrexate when I went through chemo. And then I had to do doxorubin, which is an in-clinic treatment. And those were the worst ones that I ever got mouth sores from. They hurt so bad. I barely could eat anything. And my mouth would be blistering like crazy. And it would hurt so incredibly bad. My mom they even gave me like this weird mouthwash that tasted like Pepto-Bismol. It was kind of like a tannish brown color, and it tasted like Pepto-Bismol. And I had to sit it in my mouth, and half the time I didn't like eating with it in my mouth. Because my mouth was so incredibly numb and uncomfortable from it. Number 6 on my list would have to be sore throat. So I would also get these during chemo through the second dose of methotrexate. I could barely swallow anything because it hurt so incredibly bad. I did not like it at all. Even if I had like my mouthwash that was safe to swallow, well, I couldn't even eat anything because it would just make my mouth feel so weird. I really did not like the fact that this medication, which was the doxorubin, gave me sore throats because I really had a hard time swallowing things because sometimes it would hurt so bad, but most of the time I think it would just hurt for just a day, which wasn't too bad, but it just literally, like, I barely could swallow anything with a sore throat. Number 7 on our list would have to be being emotional. So this was a hard thing. Like, one time I was crying. It was my birthday. I was crying. I was like nitpicking about something. I don't remember what it was. And I couldn't understand why I was crying. And my mom's like, because the chemo's messing with your medication, blah, blah, blah. I mean, not medication, your emotions, excuse me, wrong word. So the chemo's messing with your emotions, because that's what chemo usually does. It makes you kind of emotional because the medications, those are one of the side effects when you have going through chemo, is you're emotional. Sometimes you'd be crying, sometimes you'd be happy, sometimes you'd be mad, and it's all just from the chemo. It's just the medication just messes with your emotions. Number 8 on my list would have to be drowsiness. So a lot of times I would feel extremely sleepy with some of my chemo medications. And I literally would be sleeping almost all day. One time my aunt came to visit and my dad had to wake me up. And one time my sister had her birthday party and I slept through almost the whole birthday party, which I felt bad. And normally I'm not that, usually I don't fall asleep at birthday parties, which is rude, but it was my medication just made me so drowsy that I'd be sleeping for hours. I remember one time I even wanted breakfast at lunch time. And so I would be sleeping for like several hours, and sometimes my mom had to wake me up just to get my medication. What are you doing, Fluffy? Sorry, I'm just watching the guinea pig. Okay, so number 9 on my list would have to be chill. So whenever I was in the hospital, they would always warm up sheets and blankets for me. And my mom would also bring extra blankets for when I went through chemo, because I would be so cold and chilly from... I would be pretty cold from the medications and stuff, because that was a pretty interesting side effect that I had, because I felt cold and I wasn't sure if it was because the hospital had the air conditioning on all the time, but I just constantly was always feeling chills when I went through chemo, because I was easily getting cold and I couldn't, I would be shaking and stuff. So a lot of times at night, my mom would just bring extra blankets, or a lot of times the nurses would heat up the sheets and stuff, which was a good idea. Yeah, because the sheets and the blankets just kept me warm, and my mom would just bring blankets from home. Number 10 on my list would have to be teeth changing colors. So one weird side effect was the chemo also made my teeth kind of yellow. Even though I would brush them every day, my teeth would get kind of like a weird stained yellow color. I know it's kind of weird, but I think it was because because I didn't go to the dentist going through chemo, I brushed my teeth constantly. Like, my mom had to switch out my toothbrushes all the time, and my teeth would just get kind of yellow. I remember going through chemo, one of the side effects I had was my teeth getting changed a different color, and I thought it was not from the food I had or something, but during chemo I couldn't go to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned, because if I went to the dentist I'd probably get an infection, which is not a good thing. So during chemo, I had to constantly brush my teeth every day, and my toothbrushes had to be switched out every day. So those are my top 10 worst side effects going through chemo. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I post every other week, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye!